The anticipation kills me every single time. Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. What you can't see behind the scenes is StreamYard struggling to push everything live at the same time. So I'm sitting there with the starting wheel for a good 30 seconds. It is anxiety-filling and exhilarating at the same time. Honestly, I'm just going to start with this. We just hope you have enough players on your roster this week. That's really what we're going to get at. I think there's like 2 games this week. There's a Thursday game, and then I think there's one on Sunday night. We're going to break down the madness here. Week 7 ahead on No Punt Intended. Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Joe Zollo. Joining me, as always, the currently muted Ryan Weisse and Joshua Hudson. Now the unmuted Ryan Weisse and Joshua Hudson. That was weird. I said Ryan's name first, and I never did that, so I almost
I was going to say, let's start with the fact of how am I first, and then why am I muted, you bastards?
Well, StreamYard automatically does that. But I was about to say Ryan Hudson. And I feel like there's actually a lot of people out there with the name Ryan Hudson. Seems like a pretty common name.
It's actually my middle name, so yeah.
There you go.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is.
All right.
You should really start going by your middle name.
We should not. That would only make the show more confusing.
My middle name is Joe Zollo.
I don't know. I'm crushing it on all my picks, so maybe y'all should just be called Josh. How about that?
There you go.
Listen, gentlemen, as I do every week, how was your week 6 for you? How'd it go? Mine was 50-50. I was up and down in a lot of leagues.
Let's just move along.
Okay,
yeah.
Josh.
I'll tell you what. I crushed it. Absolutely crushed it on my upside downside picks, and I crushed it on my plays and my confidence plays, which was not been the norm. I've been really bad on my plays and really good on my fades. Complete flip this week.
Well, I'll take my L's. We're all about accountability here. When I went in to check Fantasy Pros rankings for week 6, how we did on our accuracy, I was dead last. So fuck week 6 and we'll move along. So, and I just want to put out there, I'm not great at all, but I'm never dead last. And this week I was. So.
Dang, things you love to see. That right there.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome. What I have? I'm pissed at the league that auto drafted me. I'm 6-0 in. I'm pissed. I'm pissed. That's not for money. I didn't
Computers
care.
know more than us.
That's right.
I am pissed, dude. I am pissed.
For next year.
I am pissed. They drafted me Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp on the same team, and Derrick Henry is just carrying me at this point. But
and the Titans
carrying a lot of people. And the Titans.
I'm just pissed. I'm just pissed. All right, first question in from Logie.
The exact epitome of week 7.
Of week 7.
Yes. Welcome to week 7.
Rick, are they healthy? That's all that matters. That's literally all that matters. We have, I think, one of us has Demetric Felton as their upside running back this week, I think. Or someone. I don't know. I picked up Demetric Felton to start him.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I
actually like it better than the people that are starting Dearness Johnson, quite honestly.
Words out of my mouth.
Yeah, well, hey, guess who has their downside running back as Dearness Johnson, because there's a bunch of fucking idiots that are trying to do this again this year.
I will say I did have to pick up Johnson in one league because there was no Felton.
Yeah.
I mean, if you
literally
need
desperate.
If you need a body,
yeah,
he'll get you like a point.
Just to go with
better than 0 points.
Better than 0.
I think I would lean Gage if he's playing, just because Miami gives up a ton of points to the wide receiver, and it can't all go to Calvin Ridley. So,
yeah. I mean, and they've been working. Baltimore's been working Freeman into the passing game a lot more. Latavius Murray's dealing with an ankle injury. We saw Le'Veon Bell score a touchdown last week. He's officially up off the practice squad.
Yeah, he's no longer on the practice squad. So.
I don't hate the Freeman pickup. And again, I mean, it's with the amount of quality players on a bye this week, coupled with the amount of injuries that we're dealing with at the running back position and even the wide receiver position. Good God, any healthy body works at this point.
Guys, in a super flex, I'm starting Kenneth Gainwell at my second quarterback spot. That is how bad. That's how bad this is. And just for the record, I have 3 quarterbacks. I don't want you to think I'm a bad drafter. I have 3 quarterbacks. I'm 4-2 in that league. So it's only making me more mad as we talk about week 7. But before we get into news and notes here, we have a couple Deshaun Watson questions.
I have a feeling we're just gonna get those all show long.
J-Zone 124. When do we think Watson's going to start playing? And Grapefruit just dropped Darnold for Watson. Well, Darnold is garbage anyway. So honestly, Deshaun Watson.
He's not.
Yeah, he is.
He kind of is.
He pretty much is. Darnold is hot shit. But
he
actual
has
shit.
Been bad.
Awful without
CMC.
Christian McCaffrey.
He's not even a top 15 quarterback in fantasy without Christian
Awful.
McCaffrey.
Yeah, it's rough.
I will say this hasn't gone through, correct?
It's not going.
No. It's literally rumors at this point.
Yeah.
I've already seen verified accounts that have debunked it, saying that the rumors are false.
Well, did you see, if you follow the whole conspiracy thread, it sounds like the Texans are floating this to their beat reporters to get out into the world to try to heat these rumors.
They want Philly's draft picks. That's what they want.
Yep.
Because Jalen Hurts right now, as great as he's been for fantasy, he's not leading the Eagles to any wins.
I mean, Tua also not leading the Dolphins to any wins and not leading your fantasy team to any wins either. So, if the Eagles or the Dolphins get Deshaun Watson, instant upgrade. I don't think anyone's arguing that. When he starts playing,
I can't imagine he plays this year.
I can't imagine he plays this year either. Grapefruit, I don't hate that you.
He's
dropped
not on
Darnold
the
for
exempt
Watson.
list though, and
No,
that's
he's
been the
not.
big thing. He's not on the exempt list. No, he's not.
He can play.
This is just the Texans saying, you said you don't want to play with us, so we're not going to play you. Plain and simple.
Or also they're throwing, so they just want high draft picks.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Yeah, it's a total mess. Like I drafted Deshaun Watson in a 24-round league in a 1 QB, but we have I think 12 or 13 bench spots. So I was like, let me toss him. Let me toss him in there, right? And I was a few weeks in. I'm like, he's not playing this year. I see someone I want on the waiver wire. I'm just going to drop him.
I've held him in Scott Fish, and I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to bring morals into fantasy football. I feel dirty holding him. I don't know. Yeah. I'm just. You can't
I dropped
just
him for a little bit, and then with the recent news, because I still had Jacob Eason, I was like,
might as well.
I can drop Eason and just stash him at this point. Like my Scott Fish Bowl season hasn't been going great, which I think we all knew after my first round pick in that league. But so it's like at that point, it's like, all right, cool, deep stash, whatever. Maybe he comes back, maybe he doesn't. My whole thing is once the trade line comes and goes, if he's still a Texan, you can drop him freely because there's no way that he's
no way he plays.
I just think a trade is going to light a fire under Goodell. I don't think the NFL can afford the black eye of letting him play with 20 plus cases hanging over his head. They already have such a bad reputation.
They do, but if they're
they have a bad reputation both ways.
Yeah, and the trial and the hearings and all that stuff has been pushed to January, I believe. So that's going to take place after the season.
So suspend his ass.
Well, but that's the thing is that it's always been one of those that once the proceedings are over, that's typically when they react when it comes to punishments.
But they also
even if the charges have been dropped, at least the legal investigation has concluded, which then makes it fair for them in their eyes to say, all right, well, just because the legality of it all said that you were innocent, you still should have never found yourself in this type of hot water, but so we're going to punish you, plain and simple.
The NFL is in an awful spot because they did it to themselves. They've overstepped before by putting a suspension too early on a player. They've done it before. They've waited too long and not put a suspension long enough on a player, Ray Rice, or not early enough on a player. And they've also put a huge suspension on a player, Greg Hardy, 10 games, where the minimum was supposed to be 6, and then they reduced it to below the minimum 4.
And his story just got so much worse.
and exactly, so the NFL has fucked up in 3 different scenarios where, at this point with the Watson case, They need to let him play, actually, because they don't know anything.
Yeah.
They need to let him play. Like, if a team trades for him and they want Deshaun to play, the NFL, I'm sorry, they shouldn't do anything about it. Because unless they have a strong hunch and they know something we don't, that Deshaun Watson is truly guilty of even one of these charges, then he should be suspended. But if they don't know anything, they have to let it proceed. Because, again, innocent until proven guilty, whatever you want to believe and all this stuff, I believe he's had to have done at least one of them because 20 is just absurd. But again, but then you play the other side. There's women that have claimed that he's done it, and it's been proven the opposite, that he hasn't. So it's like the NFL can't do anything.
I mean,
right
with
now. They have to
instances like
wait.
this, there's always going to be people that are going to jump on the bandwagon for a free payday.
Okay.
And I hate saying that. I absolutely hate saying that because I want to be the type of person that if you're going to levy accusations like that, I want to believe you.
And
But there are some very ill-hearted people in this world that literally only care about themselves.
I say we just gotta tread lightly with all of this.
Yeah.
No, we do.
And that's the reason. There's the reason the NFL hasn't done anything is because they fucked up so many times in the past that they need to let it play out. So, let's get into Will's question here. Derek Carr or Tua T with his matchup. I like Tua this week at home against Miami. Gents.
I have 2 points ahead, 2 ranks ahead.
Okay, Josh.
I mean, I don't hate Tua. I know the Eagles' pass defense has been surprisingly good this year, and to me, it's really just been because our run defense is dog shit. So, and that's why I think Josh Jacobs and even Kenyon Drake they're looking like they're going to have some pretty solid games. Miami can't cover running backs out of the backfield to save their life. So for me, it really just boils down to snap share. So that's why I would lean Jacobs over the two. But yeah, when it comes to Carr
or Tua.
I know I'm getting to my point here.
I was like, this isn't the question.
I know that, but again, that's why I think I would lean Tua. But Carr has just been playing so out of his mind right now that for me, I would much rather roll with him and stick with him versus just trying to play a matchup with Tua because Tua has not looked great and neither has the Dolphins offense.
He hasn't, but he had a good fantasy week last week. So that's what I'm trusting on, is that he's building on top of that.
But we've also seen Zach Wilson looked terrible against Atlanta. And I understand it's Zach Wilson.
In London, though.
Again, but it was still against that same team. Like Atlanta's defense has been okay, and they're coming off a bye as well. So that's why there's just so many things wrong right now with Miami that it's so hard for me to want to trust anybody on that team except Jaylen Waddle and Gesicki.
Very fair. Logie said he's starting Ayuk this week, and we all hate him. Don't worry, we all hate him.
Which pains me.
Again,
I love Ayuk heading in this season.
Again, if you listen to the show earlier in the year, I would have told you don't draft Ayuk. But
see, I liked Ayuk. What's funny to me, it's weird to me when I even see people talking about Ayuk anymore. He instantly became Dante Pettis to me. And so I'm just like completely hands off with him. Shout out to Dante Pettis with a big week last week. But
Dante Pettis is a big week because
else.
Kadarius Toney was injured on the first drive and no Darius Slayton or Kenny Golladay.
But so I saw a Twitter poll about what's his dynasty value, and their first answer was 2 firsts. And I'm like, what? No, not ever.
Maybe a third?
Ever his value. Exactly.
Maybe a third?
I think you could still realistically get a second for Ayuk.
And that was winning the poll, was a second. Yeah. But in redraft leagues, I mean, again, I know it's able bodies this week. In redraft leagues, I dropped Ayuk long ago.
Oh, yeah.
I dropped Kenny Golladay in one of my leagues because he was never going to see the daylight on my team. So, I mean, again, don't be afraid to drop these name brand guys. All right, we'll dive into our 3-ups here, as I'm sure we will get many more questions. Josh, you have Dak saying he absolutely obliterated Belichick's defense at a record-setting clip. Patriots defense is not great. I really don't know the whole thing here behind them. Outside of J.C. Jackson, no one else can cover on that defense. Darrell Henderson, you said you're among the doubters, but whoops. And you have Jaylen Waddle saying stud alert. He found the end zone. Ladies and gentlemen. Twice. Ryan, you said CeeDee Lamb, saying that he cost you 3 fantasy games with that overtime touchdown.
1 touchdown, 3 games down
Big
the
time.
tubes.
Leonard Fournette had another good week this week.
Yes, he did. Looking real.
And Adam Thielen.
My
another
guy.
great week. Your guy.
My guy.
Your guy. You know what? We'll add an honorable mention to Ryan and mine's as well.
Yes, I thought you would take him.
AJ Green.
Yep. Oh, and then I was going to throw out.
He's washed up. Fuck
Well, I
you
think
guys.
the show needs to take a victory lap on our boy T.Y. Hilton.
I'm actually surprised he only had 80 yards, to be honest, but I know he left early with a catch.
80 yards, and he left in like the beginning of the second half.
Yep.
Yeah.
Guys, he owns Houston.
I mean, I just was smiling.
Honestly, though, that offense looked so much better with him in the lineup. It really
he's
did.
so good. He's so good.
Yep.
Oh, owns that team.
That may come up again because there's someone on my downside list.
Speaking of that offense, Jonathan Taylor, the fact he doesn't touch the ball 30 times a game, like,
See, I just wonder though. I wonder if the way they use him leads to his effectiveness. Obviously, we all want him to touch the ball more, but I think the well-rested aspect can't be underblown.
Sure, he could probably get 5 to 10 more touches a game and be fine.
Pretty easily, yeah.
Yeah. He's out of control. I love Jonathan Taylor. TJ Watt, big shout out to him. 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 7 tackles, 2 quarterback hits, 3 pass deflections, and 45 points.
Yeah.
In the 4.
Yeah, I had him in 4-eyed, and I still found a way to lose.
TJ
Unbelievable to me.
Unbelievable
to me. I have the most points against in that league. Awesome.
TJ Watt is the Travis Kelce of defense in this 1-2-3 scoring. Like he was nuts. He was that ability to steal in the 5th round of fantasy drafts.
Absolutely nuts. And then I also said Stephon Diggs, welcome back to relevancy.
Yeah, he had to keep up with little brother.
Yes, yes, he did. Josh Downs, you have the Chargers saying that was a flat performance, specifically from Herbert, Eckler, and Williams, and just the entire offense. That was a bad showing for the Chargers.
Yeah, no bueno.
The Browns pass defense 2 weeks in a row where they've decided to go with the CDC guidelines and socially distance from wide receivers. And Eric Ebron I didn't even know he was alive. Only once this year has he played over 50% of the offensive snaps. And even with the loss of Juju, 45.3 in week 6. Don't let the fluke touchdown. It was a rushing touchdown.
They run these plays, and it's usually Claypool. So Claypool has to be pissed that he didn't get that.
Oh, well, he played like dog shit too this week.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Ryan. Oh, God, it makes me so happy. Patrick Mahomes. Guys, who told you? Now, if Washington figured out their shit on offense in the second half, that would have been great.
I just want to throw in, I'm not nearly as down on them or the Chiefs as you are, and I certainly wasn't to begin the year. But the interceptions, I don't think I've ever shared this on the show. Normally, I don't share it publicly because people give me such shit about it. I have hated Brett Favre for as long as football has existed. Didn't like him as a player, didn't like him as a person, didn't respect his game. This bullshit that Mahomes is doing right now feels Brett Favre-esque. Like I can just throw the ball whenever and wherever I want. But the one that got me, if you watched the game or if you watched Red Zone, he was getting yanked down by a defender on his left arm and straight up threw the ball straight up in the air. That's a pick every time in the NFL. And I just don't understand what he thought he was doing it is maddening at this point.
It was also would have been like a 2-yard sack.
Yeah.
Like it was not a big sack. It's weird to say that he cares about his stats too much, but also he's throwing picks. So I don't understand. It makes no sense. His carelessness with the ball is Brett Favre-esque.
Yes.
To the point where Favre trusted his arm too much, and I think Mahomes just gets cocky. Mm-hmm. And it is what he's a great quarterback. He just gets cocky. You have James Ferentz holding on Jacoby Myers' touchdown. I was like, Kathy, I was like, yeah, go Jacoby.
I was screaming.
And then I saw the flag and I was like, that's coming back. Yeah.
I was screaming. Marlia is actually my wife, is invested into the Jacoby Myers story right now.
Did you see what he caught a 2-point conversion, but not a touchdown?
Yeah.
Tough. Also, Again, honorable mention to Kendrick Bourne as well. Toasted Trayvon Diggs. Let's be honest. Toasted Trayvon Diggs. I loved it. And also, I was trying to throw in a league where I started Kendrick Bourne. I had 2 players put up 0 points, and I still fucking won in the Dynasty League. How is that possible? I started
on
Randall
a team that's
Cobb.
trying to lose. Yeah.
I started Randall Cobb.
Meanwhile, I only win because some jackass forgets to start a quarterback this week, but I'll take 5-1. So.
Hey, that's fine. And then Ryan.
Wait, who do I need to yell at for not setting a proper
Doc
lineup?
Ock. Who else?
Dr. Ock.
Damn it, Chris.
And Ryan, trade vetoes in fantasy football. Just know, I do not want to do this conversation again for like the 20th time. No trade.
We do it at
vetoes.
least once a year.
All I want to throw out
Listen,
if you're new to the
I
show,
veto the trade veto talks.
If you are new to the show and you are a commissioner, unless there is collusion, there should be no trade vetoes, and you can handle it after the fact. There should be no wait period. None of the dumb stuff that we grew up in fantasy football. We can do better now. That's all I want to say.
Unless you trade for flex depth and trade away Alvin Kamara for Travis Fulgham, who is currently unemployed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to, nobody cares about my fantasy league. I'm not going to get into it, but there are commissioners out there who let this minute amount of power go to their head, and it is maddening. Trade veto should be no more. We'll leave it at that. Let's move on.
Yeet. All right. Myself, I have the Broncos backfield. Just make a decision because I can't. I think that's really where I'm at with this team. Melvin Gordon, 13 touches. Javonte Williams, 14 touches.
I have to shout out friend of the show, Kyle Yates, who called out the Broncos backfield on Twitter and then got called out by the man himself, Melvin Gordon.
That was hilarious.
Kudos to Melvin Gordon, who pays attention to fantasy and is a friend of mine now. I love Kyle Yates, though. Just saying. It was funny to see.
Melvin Gordon's funny. I basically went kind of team wide this week. I said Carolina's offense, and I kind of did it in tiers. DJ Moore, catch an easy slant pattern and you win me money, you dick. Sam Darnold, hit DJ Moore in stride and I win my game, you dick. And then Robbie Anderson, just be free, little one. Fly away to a land where you don't drop 2-yard drag patterns because
rough week.
It's amazing the amount of targets he's had over the last 2-3 weeks, and
he is going to go nuclear in a game because of these targets.
Oh my God, yeah.
And he's.
But
going
you know
to
what though, and this was a big concern of mine when everybody was talking about Darnold coming into Carolina. I was like, oh, he's got all this rapport with Robbie Anderson. That rapport didn't really lead to much. Didn't even catch 60%.
I said this on a show right before the season started. Why are we excited about Robbie Anderson, who would only score 30 points every 3 games and score 2 in the other 2? So
I was all in on DJ Moore. I hated Robbie Anderson before the season.
Yep.
I'm still happy with DJ Moore. Let me be honest here, but
he didn't do anybody any favors last week.
He did not do anybody any favors last week. He dropped an easy slant pattern for a first down.
Caught a monster ball right after that, though.
Oh, so. He did. But Patrick Peterson covered him very well. I'm not going to fault him for the back shoulder deep route that Darnold threw perfectly because that was sun to shade. That is impossible to catch. I don't care how good you are. But the one where he toasted Cameron Dantzler and caught the ball on the 5, Darnold literally threw him to where he had to stop. If he throws him in stride, that's a DJ Moore touchdown, and that one kind of made me mad. And then to the Jaguars, you still haven't won in America, so you suck. So let's be honest.
Urban Meyer still hasn't won in America. That's the way that I phrased it. I know the Jags haven't won in America this year,
but
this is still Urban Meyer's rookie year. So.
Oh, hold on. Sorry. Someone at work showed me this. It said that since we brought up Urban Meyer, it said that Urban Meyer has come from behind in 2 countries this season. I was like, whoa. I was like, whoa. He only has 1 win. Where's the second one? That was hilarious. That's hilarious.
That's all right. This is Mark. No, it's not for kids on YouTube. We're all right.
Yeah, well, Ryan threw the explicit tag out the window in a minute 30 in. So
yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah. Christian, there's your clip if you want it. I don't know who the credit is. My buddy just showed me a picture. So to whoever made it, thank you for the laughs. That was hilarious. All right, let's get into some questions. Josh, I saw one come in on Twitter. but obviously we can't see it in our little feed. So what do you got?
Yes, if you're on Twitter, join us on YouTube, but we'll do our best to get to your question on Twitter.
Yes.
Josh, go.
So this is actually he's my opponent this week in Scott Fishbowl.
Oh, get him.
Which I know he's going to beat me, but that's neither here nor there. So he said he's facing me in SFB this week. He said, rank these three: James Conner, Christian Kirk, and Hunter Renfrow. If Gronk is out, I will need to start two of them. And his addendum, it probably won't matter who I start against his juggernaut of a team.
Yeah, young like
And no, it will not matter.
Yeah. I will.
Joe, shout out you, buddy. That's a good one. I like it.
Kirk and Connor?
I was going to go Renfrow and Connor. I don't
know. How'd starting Renfrow work out for you guys last week, huh?
I won in the Dynasty League, so fuck you.
All 6 of his points, is that it?
I won. I don't care. Yeah, I guess because it's Houston, like how much are they actually going to throw? Because they're going to be up 28-0 by the end of the first quarter.
And then there's the game of which wide receiver. But no, I could see benching Renfrow. Kirk saw a healthy amount of targets last week, but so did everybody else. So
I don't know. James Conner's the definite for me. So if Gronk's healthy, James Conner and Gronk. If not, honestly, I'm a coin flip between the other two. I think Renfrow gets more consistent targets, but Christian Kirk, I think, has a higher touchdown upside. He just has more competition to deal with. So.
Yeah.
And again, who's going to be more competitive? Philadelphia is going to be more competitive, which means the Raiders are going to probably need to throw more. So yeah, I'll go Renfrow and James Conner. James Conner.
I'll say this much:
touchdowns
the
this
weakest
week.
part of the Eagles secondary is the slot, and that's where Renfrow runs. So if you need to start two, I think I would probably lean Renfrow just for a floor. But Kirk absolutely has higher upside.
And knowing Scott Fishbowl scoring, Renfrow probably has an advantage in first down scoring as well.
Yeah.
So,
agreed.
All right. From Michael, 2 former Adam Gase quarterbacks.
Yes.
Ryan Tannehill or Sam Darnold. To me, this one is easy, and it's Ryan Tannehill this week.
Shock of the week. I'm super high on Ryan Tannehill. Finally, it's Tannehill for me too.
He's playing the 32nd ranked defense in the NFL in the Kansas City Chiefs. Josh?
I actually like both of them this week, but I am going to lead Tannehill. I would be a little worried though if Julio doesn't play. He did not practice today, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And AJ Brown has been very inconsistent, though he did have, I believe it was 7 for 91 on Monday night.
Yeah.
I mean, this offense right now is just Derrick Henry and everybody else. So I don't know that you have a ton of upside with Tannehill, but I definitely think he has the safest floor. Darnold going back to New York could get disastrous, and I made a note. He's QB 16 in the last 3 weeks without Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I think another interesting thing you could see, this is a name that you don't think about, but he had been heavily involved in the passing game. If Jeremy McNichols can get close to back to 100%, the Chiefs don't cover the running back well either, and that's going to be a nice outlet for Tannehill there too. So I would like to see him, especially if Julio doesn't go. So
the Chiefs are currently tied for the second worst run defense in the NFL in terms of yards per carry. 5.2 yards per carry.
Derrick Henry could double that. So.
Well, he had over 7 yards to carry on Monday night.
Yeah.
It is unreal how good he is. Derrick Henry being that. And I mean, even if you look at like just total rushing yards in general, the top, so Kansas City currently ranks 6th amongst teams when it comes to total rushing yards allowed on defense. Every team ahead of them has at least 24 more attempts allowed against their defense. And then the teams below them, the only one that has less than their attempts allowed are the Cardinals at 148, and they have the same yards per carry as the Chiefs. But everyone else below the Chiefs have less attempts against their defense, all the way down to the Carolina Panthers. Wow. The Chiefs' defense blows.
Yep.
They are atrocious at football. So, and like the one thing that I thought would at least be good from the Chiefs would be their run defense because of Chris Jones, because of Daniel Sorensen, because of Tyrann Mathieu. They can't play defense at all.
Yeah.
So if you're playing Derrick Henry this week, I don't care how good your lineup is. Start the highest upside lineup you possibly can, because Derrick Henry is guaranteed this week 40 fantasy points.
Yep.
Guaranteed this week 40
He
fantasy
could
points.
very well set the record for the most rushing yards in a single game this week.
No doubt in my mind.
Yeah, it would make a lot of sense.
No doubt in my mind. And I believe Tennessee's at home too, correct? They're in Nashville.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And that again, that's my worry with Tannehill. I think his floor is still safe, but again, because of how bad Kansas City's defense is, like you've leaned on Derrick Henry to this point, why
Hey,
give
Josh,
that up?
Josh, I'm gonna have you. Here's what I'm gonna have you do. I'm gonna have you, get off your mom's Wi-Fi, reconnect your internet, because it is tough right now.
Yeah. Josh is playing in the 8-bit era.
Yeah, it is almost like when Ryan.
Firefox.
That's true.
I would say it's like when Ryan used Firefox on his dial-up 110 megabit.
That's right. I had to go get a new AOL disk.
Yeah, you need a new floppy drive.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Josh figures out his internet. From Nick, who do you guys like more this week as a streaming defense, the Falcons or the Seahawks? Ryan, who are you feeling? I personally would go Seahawks because they're at home.
Correct answer. First of all, Nick, pour one out. Rough week for streaming defenses.
Bad.
I almost just straight gave up while ranking them. So I actually hate Atlanta this week. I don't have them scoring 2 fantasy points. I have Seattle at 4. It's not great, but that still makes them my, 12th or 14th ranked defense. So I would definitely go Seattle on Monday night.
I was lucky enough to actually get Arizona's defense on waivers.
Oh, kudos.
Yeah.
That's the thing is, so for those who watch my stream of the week videos, that's dropping tomorrow. I try to keep it at around 50% available just because I want it to talk about relevant teams. But check your waivers. Almost nobody is over 80% available, but everybody's like 60% available. It tells me a lot of leagues people are holding on to defenses. You just got to hope Jameson is going to Jameis. Seattle hasn't looked great, but you figure the turnovers are coming. So,
and they're at home. Just a better overall defense.
Yeah.
Josh is back with us in HD now. Feels
yes.
good. Elixir's asking, would it be likely that King Henry would be the number 1 overall pick in next year's fantasy draft?
That's an interesting question. I want to hear your guys' opinion, but exactly.
I think you're still going to find people that are going to make a case that even if his receiving numbers are higher, they're going to say, meh, I'm going to go with, if McCaffrey's healthy, or, if Dalvin Cook is healthy, or if Kamara gets a better quarterback, or, it's if. And, my biggest thing with Zeke has always been he's consistent. Why would I not want that type of consistency? If I'm taking the number 1 pick, why not just take the most consistent guy? Right now, that's Derrick Henry. And
so everyone's waiting for the wheels to fall off.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, but this isn't Dynasty. It's redraft.
Yeah, it's redraft.
Well, that's what I was going to say is I don't want to mix this question up with who are the experts going to tell you to pick and who's going to be ranked 1 overall. It'll never be Derrick Henry. Literally, it'll never be Derrick Henry. We as a fantasy analyst community just have our head up our asses when it comes to Derrick Henry. By week 4, we all start singing the same tune. He's the best running back in fantasy. Why did I ever doubt him? But we have our head up our asses. What I will say is in home leagues where people are fringe pay attention, I think you could see Henry go 101 way more often because he's been so overtly dominant this year. And there's no, I mean, Christian McCaffrey's still missing games, but last year there was the injury risk. If McCaffrey comes back from this hamstring, whatever it is, it's pretty clear Henry is still the better fantasy asset. And I think you're going to see in a lot of home leagues, people are going to be like, well, why wouldn't I grab this guy? So It's the same effect that causes guys like Patrick Mahomes to go in the first round of a home league. So,
I would still take Christian McCaffrey one, but I do agree with what Ryan said. Henry is probably 2. Screw Alvin Kamara. He's not a running back.
I mean, honestly, with the way the Packers use Aaron Jones and the way the Colts use Jonathan Taylor, there isn't anybody else like Henry and McCaffrey when he plays, where they're their entire team. Who's that?
Even Cook. I mean, when you look at the snap percentages, like that's why these guys go so high. Like you deal with the injury risk because you know that
Cook,
when they
Cook
play,
is a guy I should have
play. Yeah.
So answer me this. Saquon goes on, right? Doesn't have that great of a season the rest of the season if he comes back. Is he even in the top 12 for running backs going into next year?
His name will carry him into the top 12. I'm not touching him in the first 2 rounds. And
I'll make a case for the second round, easy, because he's starting running back in the NFL.
Yeah, but so is Austin Eckler, and he fell into the second round in some drafts. So is Joe Mixon, and he fell into the second round.
Now, Mixon's another guy. If Mixon could just put it together for a season, he's going to have to – a lot of people are going to have to shut up about Joe Mixon if he can keep doing what he's doing right now. Because that's an offense, in theory, that's going to improve every season. And obviously, running backs don't age well. But I think Mixon probably has 2 years left in him of prime Joe Mixon. And then as Burrow gets better, as these wide receivers get better, Mixon's one that is going to need to be considered in the top half of the first round next year if this year continues. So,
yeah, that's the thing for me with Mixon. It's if he continues. The thing with Saquon is we've seen him finish as a top 3, top 5 running back.
Yeah.
We still have not seen that from Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like with Saquon, like you could make the case that he's a late first round pick. Again, if this season keeps going up and down, but what I want to see is A, is Jason Garrett still there? Is B, is Daniel Jones still there? C, is Dave Gettleman still there? D, who then comes in to replace all those guys? And have they improved their offensive line at all?
Okay, so yeah, you're hitting on the, that's what I'm saying is it would have to be a whole new team. If it's this team, I don't think Saquon's a first and for me, a second round pick.
I'm not drafting Saquon at all.
Yeah, you're anti-Saquon. So.
Oh, yeah. God, anti-Saquon. Stay healthy for at least 5 games for me, and then we can chat. That team sucks. Josh, to answer all your questions, yes to everything and then no to the last one. They're not going to do anything to improve that team, and Dave Gettleman's not going anywhere. So
we'll see.
And then if Gettleman doesn't go anywhere, obviously Garrett would go. They would give Joe Judge another year, but they would essentially force him to fire Garrett, you would think, right?
Probably.
Which, that's a recipe for disaster when it comes to your, head coach improving because you've now taken the power away from him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One more from Michael before we head into our upside downside. Tons of injuries and bye week. He's got Pitts at the tight end, Ertz at the flex. Dude, again, it's healthy bodies this week. And
well, be careful with Ertz, though, because
he'll have a limited playbook.
Yeah, at first week with the team, and he's not interacting with his own coaches right now.
Yeah, because everybody's out with COVID.
It's true. COVID. Yeah. If he's your only option, obviously skill wise, he's great. And you need anyone in your lineup at this point. It's definitely not bad. There are a lot of people in much worse situations.
And it's a good matchup for Ertz, too, mind you.
Good matchup for Pitts as well.
I love Pitts this week. So for the first time this season, and again, after I've told you how shitty I am at ranking, but Travis Kelce fell out of my top spot. He fell to 4, and I do have Pitts 1 spot ahead of Kelce just because Tennessee is actually pretty damn good against the tight end. So,
All right, let's head into our upside downsides here. Josh, you were 2-1-1 last week, 13-9-2 on the season, I believe.
I'd like to point out really quick that tie was Damian Williams.
Oh.
And that was announced early Friday morning. I was able to change that in my confidence plays column. I could not change it on here. That's why it was a tie there, but a win in
sucks to suck.
Yeah, excuses. This week you got Teddy Two Gloves in Cleveland on Thursday night. Chuba Duba in New York against the Giants. Darnell Mooney in Tampa and Ross Dwelly at home against the Indianapolis Colts.
You had me until that terrible pick.
We'll see.
I have my contrarian pick for that. We'll talk about that though.
I think I have Mooney as my downside wide receiver.
You do,
What?
yeah.
I'll explain.
Okay.
I'm the biggest Darnell Mooney fan.
I was going to say, that's where I was shocked. I just want to throw out real quick. We don't got to talk a lot about it. I know why you have Dwelly, and I don't necessarily disagree, but I think everything you think happens to Dwelly happens to Kyle Juszczyk instead. So
That could very well be.
I was heavily contemplating picking up Kyle Juszczyk this week in a lot of leagues.
I actually, and now I'm pissed I didn't do it. I almost put out a tweet today. Like, for all your bye week woes, don't forget about Kyle Juszczyk.
We've seen Dwelly have success.
Yeah.
Without Kittle. So
Yeah.
Indy sucks against the tight end. It's a decent dart throw when you need able bodies.
I just hope they bring Jordan Reed back.
Hell yeah. I mean, our buddy Jeff Greenwood, I'm sure, is all over the Kyle Juszczyk train this week.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So, Ryan, you were 500 last week. You're 10-14 on the season. You have Matt Ryan in Miami, J.D. McKissick in Green Bay, especially if Antonio Gibson can't go.
I was going to say, I just put that on there so I could be like, see, I predicted it before Gibson's out.
Yeah. Jamison Crowder in New England and Dallas Goedert in Vegas, obviously assuming he gets off the COVID list.
Yeah.
I was 3-1 last week. Listen, just listen to me at the upsides. Do not listen to me on the downsides in the slightest. I am 0 for 8 the last 2 weeks on downsides. Just don't listen
You
to
got
me
the wrong
there.
running back as your upside, but that's okay.
Nope. Nick Sirianni hates Miles Sanders. I'm going with Kenny Gainwell, and I'll tell you why. I'd
love to hear why, because his snap counts don't reflect how much Nick Sirianni likes him. So
listen. Tannehill against Kansas City. Kenneth Gainwell. The Raiders have this awesome linebacker called Corey Littleton who can't cover running backs. So I'm hoping that Kenneth Gainwell gets matched up on Corey Littleton and he scores a touchdown. That's my only reasoning. And to give good juju because I'm starting Kenneth Gainwell in my super flex spot in 4-eyed. So I would really like the good energy flowing his way this week. Bobby Trees against Detroit and Mike Gesicki at home against Atlanta. Honestly, there was no low name tight end to really pick this week as an upside because
it's trash.
It's garbage. Yeah. It's literally garbage. Downside, Josh, you're 3-1 this season, 15-9, or 3-1 last week, 15-9 on the season. Got Mac Jones against the Jets, Khalil Herbert against Tampa Bay, T. Higgins in Baltimore, and Gerald Everett at home against New Orleans. Ryan, goose egg, join the club.
Oops.
You're 500 on the season. You got Joe Burrow in Baltimore, Damian Williams in Tampa Bay. All right, guys, we get it. Running backs against Tampa Bay suck. We understand.
See, I went Herbert because he actually did well last week, and I wasn't 100% if Damian was going to.
I went Damian Williams because I think people are going to blame it on COVID, but you don't want a guy coming back from COVID going against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah,
But I do think that Herbert did enough last week to make this more of a tandem backfield. Versus just.
I mean, honestly, it was a tandem backfield that very first week because they were actually able to run the ball quite a bit. So,
you want to know how good the Buccaneers' run defense is? They're the only team in the NFL that does not have triple-digit attempts against them on the ground, and they are currently
in 6 games.
They are currently 20 attempts or in front, technically, of the next closest team, the New Orleans Saints, at 118. So the Bucs have 98 attempts against them. The Saints have 118.
Yeah.
The Buccaneers have the second least yards per carry in the NFL at 3.4. Yeah. So do not start running backs against the Bucs. This has been a theme for the last few seasons.
Yep.
Ryan, you also have Michael Pittman in San Francisco and Rob Gronkowski against the Chicago Bears.
Yep.
Don't know why I hesitated.
He plays, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously I'll take the tie if I have to take the tie, but just coming back from ribs, I hate the fact that I hate injuries where one wrong shot can end your day, and a rib injury on a big tight end, that's what they're aiming for.
Yeah, and at this point, because of all the buys, everybody's going to be like, oh, Gronk is healthy? Okay, got to start him. So I get it.
So I'm really going for a big bounce back week here, but I think my picks are justified. I'm 7-16-1 on the season. Like I said, just listen to my upsides, don't listen to my downsides. As you know, I'm an optimist, not a pessimist. I have Jared Goff. Yeah, shut up. I know. Yeah, shut up. bunch of dickheads.
You're like the second most negative person I know besides myself.
Well, I'm glad to be in the conversation. I have Jared Goff in LA. Listen, he sucks. And it's very obvious he should be a downside. But people are going to fall for this revenge game trap.
Oh, it's a revenge game. Just wrong side of the field.
Just the wrong side of the ball.
I will say that I begrudgingly have to start Jared Goff in one league, and it was an orphan that I took over like 2.5 weeks ago. And
well, that's fine if you have to. But
and I lost Russell Wilson, and it's super flex, so I'm trotting out some random dude in my super flex spot, which is great.
So I said you have to be good in order to get revenge.
Yeah.
So
yeah, wouldn't it just technically be more Rams revenge against Jared Goff? Like, don't even worry about Stafford versus Detroit.
Absolutely.
This is the Rams.
I will say I am curious to know how Jared Goff responds after Dan Campbell calling him out this weekend.
Yeah.
Because I was watching Good Morning Football when Chris Carter was, kind of talking about like his whole reaction.
I saw the same thing, yeah.
Ooh.
Chris, yeah.
That was a powerful response.
Yeah.
I very much enjoyed that.
Yep. My running back downside, Dearness Johnson, because all you fucking idiots are doing it again. Do we not learn?
But as we've mentioned, we kind of get it this week.
we kind of get it. But still, really?
But if Demetric Felton's out there,
agreed.
Especially if Landry can't go as well, Demetric Felton
Felton's going to eat this week.
And
keep in mind, too, Case Keenum targets the running back, and he targets the slot.
Yes,
that's going to big for Felton.
We're going to get to all your questions in just a second.
Yes, James, we see all of them coming in. Don't worry, we're going to get there. I have 2 more guys to talk about. I hate Dearness Johnson this week. He's a sorry excuse for an NFL running back. Wide receiver, Darnell Mooney. I'll tell you why. It is not for the fact that Tampa Bay secondary is just so utterly awful. It is for the fact that Justin Fields will have no time to throw the football. That is the reason Mooney is my downside.
Makes me feel good about Cole Kmet.
Yeah. Mooney will be open.
I do actually like Kmet this week.
Yeah, and he's been seeing 5 targets a game over the last 2, I think.
It was 4 for 49 last week, I think?
Yeah, something like that.
Darnell Mooney will be open on 100% of the routes that he runs. I'm going to get that out there in the air right now. Justin Fields will be pressured on 100% of the passes that he is going to throw. He may be sacked 8 times.
He could have a Kendrick Bourne game, though. Darnell Mooney.
See, and that's kind of my whole thing. It's going to be very boomer bust with Mooney this week.
And that's the thing is, I'm banking on him not getting a touchdown, right? I see him. Yeah. I can see him potentially getting like 5 catches for 50 yards or something and just being outside the top 36. This week there's so many players on buys that, you could score 7 points and be in the top.
I was going to say, you could argue at 3 per team. There's only 78 active wide receivers this week.
So literally, if Darnell Mooney catches 2 passes for 10 yards, he might be top 20. It's ridiculous. But that's the reason I have Mooney, and then Hunter Henry against the Jets. The Jets are just so bad you don't need to pass against them.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into these bunch of questions here. So from Drew's the first one. Trade Sutton and Thielen for Devontae Adams in a PPR. Is that a good trade? So you're basically trading 2 top 20, I would argue, wide receivers for a top 5 in Devontae Adams. Do we like that? Do we not like that?
Give me the top 5 and then go replace Sutton and Thielen off of waivers. It's probably possible. I'll take Adams.
Josh?
Yeah, absolutely. Adams, 100%.
Same thing. If you can replace the production of 2 guys with 1, you do that and then find another guy to just replace him.
Yep.
Another trade question from James. Trade DeAndre Hopkins for Justin Jefferson, Ryan.
It's so close, but Hopkins is splitting time amongst 4. Jefferson is splitting time amongst nobody. I guess give me Jeff. So
yeah, I think I would go Jefferson here too, which pains me because I'm a huge DeAndre Hopkins fan.
Yeah, I have Hopkins.
Even his production has been very up and down this year.
I think he injuries and spreading the ball and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
So
something as well. I think I'm on Jefferson as well. I think the Vikings have every game this season has been within 6 points. So, their wins or losses have been within 6 points. So, they are throwing. They have to throw to stay in these games. So, I like Jefferson. Trade Melvin for Javonte Williams. Anybody?
Yep. I am fully been saying this since it started. I think Javonte Williams breaks out second half of the season, Jonathan Taylor-esque. You've made it through the first half with Melvin. Go ahead and get Javonte for the second half.
Yeah, I'm going to lean Javonte here. The amount of tackles that he's breaking on a consistent basis is
A lot
better than Derrick Henry right now. Like, let that sink in.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how well he sheds tacklers. You just know that breakout is coming. I don't know when it's going to be, but Gordon hasn't done anything to separate himself, and it's only a matter of time before Javonte Williams takes over.
Yep.
So I would lean Williams here.
Yeah, Javonte for the second half. And even now, they're getting the same amount of touches and putting up the same points.
Yeah.
So you're not losing anything by trading away Melvin Gordon. Pick up, I'm going to assume Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah, that must have to be.
Corey Davis, Tony Pollard, Marvin Jones Jr., Sterling Shepard, Jaylen Waddle, Christian Kirk. DJ Moore? There's no way that's DJ Moore.
No, Rondale.
Rondale Moore or
Rondale, yeah.
Tyler Boyd. Pick up Jaylen Waddle, Christian Kirk,
I was
Sterling
going to say,
Shepard.
who?
I was going to say
Yeah.
Waddle, Shepard, and Davis would be the guys that I would probably
Waddle is a
target there.
must for me. I think
Yeah,
So is
Waddle-
Shepard.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, Shepard is what Shepard is, and there's competition there. Waddle has almost no competition.
competition.
And I don't care about Will Fuller and Parker. And he looks good. Like, Waddle looks good. Like, I want all the Jaylen Waddle. Rondale Moore is a fun one, but again, it's the same thing we've been talking about all show long. There's just, I don't use the term so many mouths to feed because it's nonsense, but 6 targets per person, which is healthy on any other team, it's kind of meh in fantasy football. Boyd has looked awful when everybody's healthy, but if I'm only getting one of these guys, I mean, honestly, if I'm only getting one of these guys, it's usually a running back for me, but I can't, in no league that I exist in, could Jaylen Waddle be on waivers. It's a sin against humanity.
Agreed. I'd probably put it Waddle, Shepard,
Leaving
Davis,
Pollard out there
and then
feels
Pollard.
dangerous.
Pollard is, and again, he's one of those guys right now that's a top 20 running back, but he's done it in like one game.
And it was all based on his first 2 games of the season. So
Exactly. So it's just kind of one of those, like, you're going to have Pollard rostered and you're never going to know when to start.
Yep. You're just praying for an injury at that point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is not a fun way to play fantasy football.
No, agreed.
Jaylen Waddle, if you have to pick up one, you have to pick up 2. Waddle and probably Shepard is
Yeah,
who
I
I'm
mean,
going
14
with.
targets.
I will say
last week.
I don't love Davis this week. I mean, we talked earlier in the season about how
That's why Crowder's my upside. So
J.C. Jackson plays well against bigger body receivers.
Yep, and that's Davis.
So he can body him up. Amari Cooper didn't have a great game last week because J.C. Jackson was covering.
yeah, Davis had 2 for 8 against them earlier in the season.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
not good.
It was
Not
bad.
good. And James, will Monty still be the lead back? Yes, dude.
Yes.
Oh my God. Khalil Herbert, no way. Tariq
He's
Cohen,
fun. I
He did
like
look
this
good.
kid.
He
Yeah,
did
great.
look good, yeah.
It's not David
Khalil
Montgomery.
Khalil Herbert is the reason Damian Williams and Tariq Cohen don't have a job next year. Let's just throw that out there.
Yes.
So
Agreed.
Yeah. I will say, if Tariq Cohen comes off the pup and plays this week, I like it. I threw $1 of fab on him, which is 0.5% of my total fab.
I have not seen any. And Joe, I know you don't follow it this closely. Has he practiced? I haven't seen anything.
One,
so.
I have no idea. I dropped Terrace Marshall, so I really didn't care.
Yeah.
But again, if you have a roster spot for Tariq Cohen, he's a running.
I mean, I
back
held him
that's
in a
gonna
bunch
be
of dynasty
healthy.
leagues this entire time
Yeah.
just to kind of see what happens. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have an IR spot to put him on. So
Exactly.
it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe Nagy was asked about him today, and it was a very typical Matt Nagy response where it was a response that didn't really answer the question.
Exactly.
Yeah, very presidential of Matt Nagy. Elixirs says his opponent only has 1 player out. He has 4 bench spots, but he has 6 guys out.
Welcome to our lives.
Welcome to
I
week
wanna throw-
7, my friend.
I want to throw one thing out though, because this kind of plays into your opponent here. JJ Zacharyson, great fantasy football mind, great Twitter follow, said today that he loves the self-own of people who are saying, I don't have anybody out this week when all of the best fantasy assets are on
out.
bye
saw
that
that
are
tweet.
hurt this week. And so kudos to you. If you have a bunch of people out, it means you have a damn good fantasy team and your opponent is probably trash. There's been a lot of debate on Twitter this week about take the L in week 7. Don't hurt your team to start a lineup this week. If you have to go no kicker, no defense, take the L. Don't drop assets that matter for one damn win. Now, if you're 1-4, or 1-5, 2-4, that win means a little bit more, but again, don't kill your team for 1 week. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never been a proponent of just hanging on to a defense just to hang on to a defense. But I'm literally debating that on a couple leagues where I have.
There was a week last year. Yeah, there was a week last year.
The amount of times Diggs has 2 pick sixes already this year.
Yeah,
and all the turnovers that they're generating, that's becoming a defense that you really just can't drop. You're just gonna keep riding them out and seeing what happens. So
when there was a week last year where I had so many bye weeks, I wasn't dropping Travis Kelce. So I dropped my kicker and ran no kicker out that week so that I could go get a bench tight end, because in this league, I thought that the tight end that I could find would score more points than a kicker would score for me. And that's kind of the judgment call you make. And I'll tell you, with defenses, and I don't mean to toot my own horn, I'm pretty damn good with defenses. I don't like the scoring this week. More than half of these teams I have projected under 4 fantasy points. So if you need to make a call and you can't get the Arizona Cardinals on waivers, run no defense if you're that strapped. I'm not saying do that for sure, but if you're that strapped for roster spots, especially you who has 4 bench spots and 6 players out, this might be the week, Elixirs. Just don't start a defense if you've been streaming. Now, if you're holding on to the Rams who are playing anyway, but there are ways you can get around this. But the Cowboys are a team I've been telling people, I don't know that you want to drop them because they have Minnesota coming back in. They're great at stopping the run. And Diggs is going to shut one of those wide receivers down. You're going to see sacks and turnovers, and that's what you want. So
I do want to say they're not that good at stopping the run. Damian Harris had almost 100 yards, and actually he did have 100 yards, and Ramondre Stevenson looked
okay
really
at
good.
Stopping the run.
Yeah, they've been okay. But hey, Ramondre Stevenson looked good too.
He did. I like him.
To be fair, New England's good at running the football. I mean, even if a team is good at stopping the run, if a team is built to run the football, it's usually, somebody's going to yield at that point.
Yeah, but again, the Cowboys do not have the talent to stop the run consistently. I just get that out there. Their defense is still not that great.
They're playing well together, and sometimes that's all it takes. So kudos to Dan Quinn for proving he's a better coordinator than he ever was a coach.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's I hate when people are just like, oh my God, get this guy out. He doesn't deserve to coach. No, just because you don't make it as a head coach doesn't mean you're not a really good coordinator. Look at Todd Bowles. He was a dumpster fire as a head coach. Dude put together a good defense in Tampa.
Seattle wasn't happy when Dan Quinn left to go to Atlanta.
Their defense went down the shitter quick.
Yep.
Well, they stopped feeding them PEDs too. That kind of
that hurts a little bit.
Yeah, that hurts a little bit when you're not feeding Cam Chancellor PEDs. All right, let's fly through these. Forgive Jonah, Deontay Harris, or Marquez Callaway this week. Me, I would flip a coin and then run and cry in a corner. Ryan?
In my projections, I had 1 touchdown to give. I gave it to Callaway. So.
Okay, Josh?
Yeah, I think I would lean Callaway. I think he'll end up being the more consistent, so I think he'll have a safer floor. Harris is more so boomer bust.
Doug is confused. Jeff for Hop. Yep, that's what we said. You heard us.
And he did bring up a good point in the YouTube chat really quick. If you guys are watching on Twitter, if you're commenting on Twitter, we do not see those questions. Whatever is going on, this transition that Twitter has done from Periscope. Transitioning to Twitter Live or whatever, as we broadcast through StreamYard, we do not see those comments. So unless you're physically commenting on the Twitter thread, not the Twitter video, the Twitter thread, we will not see them.
Okay. Josh, I didn't even understand that, and I worked for the damn show because someone was bitching at us a few weeks ago, and Faith brought it up, and I didn't but if you're in the video, it's a completely different thread that
because you know how people used to make comment on Periscope, and then we would see it. Yeah, it does not link with Twitter that way. I don't know if that's something that is just never going to happen with StreamYard, or if it's still something that they're working through in their infancy with dealing with Twitter Live. But right now, we do not see those comments. But if you comment on the thread, it will show up, and we can see that, and that's how I was able to bring up Joe's question.
Boom. Good call, Josh. Thanks for enlightening me.
Jonah, again, trade, I assume, Deshaun Watson and Myles Gaskin for Miles Sanders. He already has Latavius Murray. Ryan?
I think you could get this is going to sound awful. I think you could get more for Watson right now.
Yeah, you probably can, honestly.
Yeah, the hype around Watson, you want to trade Watson. I'm fully on board. Move Watson right now this week while this hype exists. But I don't know that Miles Sanders is the piece I'm attacking.
I would rather have Sanders over Gaskin.
1,000. I was going to say, Josh, you're better to answer this. I don't know what the hell's going on with Philly. I know Sanders snap counts are way up. All of the signs are pointing towards a Sanders blow up. I just don't know. So
yeah, Nick Sirianni is the most inept head coach in the league right now. Like there's no way to trust him. He counts these RPOs as runs. If they're not running the football, they're not running the football. It's not rocket science, people.
Yeah, it's bad.
Sanders is on the field. He's running more routes than Kenny Gainwell. He has more receptions than Kenny Gainwell. He is their lead running back. They're just not giving him the damn football. That's the problem. They know that they need to run the football. They now have 10 days to get their head right and say the Raiders fucking suck at stopping the run. Give Miles Sanders the damn football. That's it. If Sanders does not blow up this week, it 1,000% will not happen. I'm sorry. And that was basically how I felt going into
2
Monday
weeks ago.
night. No.
I said the same
it's how
thing
I
about
felt
him 2 weeks
last
ago.
week with Stephon Diggs, right?
Oh,
that's how I felt. Like Diggs has been consistent. He's only had one top 24 week heading into last week. That's why I made him my upside. I was like, if he's going to do it, it's going to be this week in primetime against the Titans. And he did it. That's what you want from good football players. This is the week that Miles Sanders blows up. And if he doesn't, he is 1,000% droppable in redraft leagues as far as I'm concerned, especially 10-team leagues. Probably hold on to him in 12-team, but
sorry, don't drop Miles Sanders, but continue. Just leave him on your bench.
Yeah, don't drop
Miles
Saquon Barkley either. Apparently that was a thing on Twitter.
Oh my God, I can't believe
that. Actually, you can drop Saquon Barkley. I support that decision because he's just going to get injured again. So you can drop Saquon. Actually, you know what? No, don't drop him, especially if you have IR spots. Don't drop him. Let him come back. He'll get injured. Put him on your IR. There you go.
Or trade him.
Yeah, there you go.
No, just drop him. Drop him. You'll get nothing for him. Elijah Moore or Jameson Crowder? We'll just let Ryan answer this question.
I like Crowder this week. They're going to stop Corey Davis. Crowder's already been a target hog. Give me Jameson Crowder. And Crowder's got a touchdown.
Nothing that has indicated that Elijah Moore has anything to do in this offense right now.
Yep.
So Crowder.
Elixir's saying he he has to bench Zeke, CEH, Tyler Bass. In Buffalo's defense, he regrets dropping Kadarius Toney to pick up Cleveland's defense for this week. Should he drop Cleveland and pick up a kicker instead? He's 2-4, so kind of a necessary win.
Yeah,
he has no clue what to do with CEH as well.
That's
like Ryan said,
I have Cleveland at 2 fantasy points this week, so I'm fine with that.
Like Ryan said, if you need to go no defense this week, go no defense. So
yeah, I think honestly you're probably going to get more points from a kicker anyway.
Yeah,
definitely get more points from a kicker.
So
if Nick Manus is out there,
the dog.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan's stream of the weeks got Teddy Bridgewater in Cleveland tomorrow night, Ricky Seals-Jones in Green Bay, and then the Panthers in New York against the Jets. Against the Giants. My kicker of the week is someone who's not on a bye.
Yeah.
As long as it's not Dustin Hopkins, who was just released.
Yeah.
And not Dustin Hopkins.
Chris Blewett.
Yeah. And then,
I love that.
Who would have ever thought that Urban Meyer's ridiculous game of hide the kicker would actually work? And Matt Wright was the #1 kicker in fantasy football last week.
Stud.
Yep. He's also
Matt
14
Wright.
years old, the only NFL player younger than Joe. So,
heck yeah.
I literally thought, I was so confused when he was like dapping people up after the game because his arms are straight up twigs. And I'm like, wait, is that a football player?
Someone legitimately though, Evan McPherson, the kicker for Cincinnati, Guys, he's good.
That kid's good too.
Yep.
He's really good. Like
Shout out to Lindellians, Linda Godfrey.
He was all over him.
Everybody before the season, before the draft, watch where this kid ends up. Called him to Cincinnati and then called that he was going to be good. So friend of the show, kicker extraordinaire.
He will be the next. Just like when Justin Tucker retires, he will be the next Justin Tucker. He will be the best kicker in the NFL. End over end kicks. He had a bad week against Green Bay. Kickers will have one really bad week a season. It just happens. Justin Tucker had a bad week earlier this season. Then, of course, he kicked a 66-yard field goal in that same game.
And now he's God. I don't know how he didn't change his jersey number to 66 after that game.
Yeah. Evan McPherson is a good kicker, so if you do need someone, go grab him. Thrive, a little weird this week, so Chubb is still listed on there, and he's out, and OBJ, highly questionable, so you're going to have to...
And
I did get clarification from that, actually.
Yes, Josh went to town, called local law enforcement.
Literally went to Thrive, our contact with Thrive, to get the correct go of this. So they have currently Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, as well as Odell Beckham listed under their Thursday night slate, which obviously we know Baker is out. We know Chubb has already been ruled out, and OBJ is very highly questionable. So they said that if any props for Baker and Chubb will automatically be canceled, and your ice picks, your in case of emergency picks that you make, will automatically take those spots. And it says that the slate would then be canceled if there are less than 60% of the props available.
So keep in mind they put 20 props out there, so 8 players would need to be ruled as out, or I don't know how many are doubled up.
Correct, but there are, for some of them, there's usually 2 props per player. So the whole objective is don't pick props including Baker, Chubb, and OBJ.
You're just wasting a pick at that point. So
which we don't have, and Josh has Noah Fant basically just catching a touchdown. That's for 120 points. Some notes. Fant has scored in 3 of the last 5 games. He has 10-plus targets in 2 of the last 3. In his one game against Cleveland in his rookie year, he had 3 catches for 115 yards and a touchdown. And 3 touchdowns allowed to the tight ends. Fewest receptions allowed. I assume you mean Cleveland, correct?
Correct, yes. So that's why I say it's a big swing, because it is 120 points. But I'm riding a good winning streak here because you guys clearly suck at this, and I'm good at it. So I'm saying, all right, let's go for gold.
I took Fant over half a touchdown as well. Yeah. Ryan, you have Teddy Bridgewater over 243 yards passing at 95 points, and I have DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones, over 24.5 receiving yards at 100 points.
That's fair. That's one catch.
I mean, if Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry don't play.
And Case Keenum isn't awful. Let's be clear about that. He's not going to win this game, but
Case Keenum revenge game this week.
There you go. That's all the motivation we needed.
Case Keenum revenge game this week, baby. All right, that's it.
We did it.
Good week, boys. Tomorrow, obviously 6 p.m. Eastern, week 7 of DFS and Chill. Britt Flynn from Lightning Round Fantasy and Fighting Chance Fantasy will be joining Kira and Ryan.
We also have Club Dynasty tomorrow night, too. I forgot to add that in there, 7:30.
Club Dynasty.
Yep.
Club Dynasty tomorrow, 7 p.m. EST.
7:30. Don't make the mistake I made.
7.30 EST PM. As well, starts a different day on Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Full team this week. Guest is TBD. Excited. Haven't met TBD in person yet.
I think Faith is out this week. I forgot to change that too. That's my fault.
Faith is out. Your boy will be hosting this week.
Oh, snap. Your boy with special guest TBD. Sounds like the hottest album hitting these streets.
Special guest TBD, who will also be making a guest appearance at the Super Bowl along with their star-studded lineup. I feel like TBD could be a rapper name.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like we have to end on this question and then just get out of here.
Okay, ready. In 3, 2, 1. Yes. Are you
pains
joking?
me to say, but yes.
Are you kidding me? If someone is willing to give up James Robinson for Antonio Gibson, you take advantage of them. I'm not going to say it. I was saying the words of the league.
Let's preface this. If it's redraft, yes, you go get James.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
If it's dynasty,
hold on to Gibson.
Pump the brakes.
Here's my thing. we already know Gibson's hurt, and now they're sending him in for an MRI, and I don't believe the results have been released yet. I feel like you need to make that trade right now while we're talking to you, because if that MRI drops at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, that offer is getting yanked right away from you. You already know he's hurt, so you're trading away hurt Gibson for J-Rob, and the best part about this is J-Rob has his bye this week, and you're done with that bye. You don't even have to worry about it. Washington still has their bye on top of Gibson could get shut down. The NFL is loving this temporary IR right now. So.
Yeah, you make that trade in a heartbeat. All right. For Ryan, Josh, and me, you can catch Ryan tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern. Josh tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And then
just got a guest for tomorrow night, too.
Oh my God.
Scott Barrett.
Who?
Scott
Hell
Barrett.
Yes. That's a great pool. Scott Barrett is a genius.
We love Scott. I don't know. I go Scott. I trust you guys with guests. Everyone we have on the show is awesome. And then all of us on Saturday as well with guest TBD. We don't know who will be joining us on Saturday. You can follow Club Fantasy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Club Fantasy FFL. The URL is clubfantasyffl.com. Always remember, defense wins championships. Offense wins fantasy football. We will all see you on Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Ryan tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. Josh at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And then again next week.